Okay, and we are live. So much has happened since the last time we spoke on the RussiaGate issue. Now there seems to be a Hillary connection. I'm sure you've been looking very closely at that, Sam. What's the latest from your viewpoint?
Okay, since we spoke, actually, I've done a lot more research on it. I think how, if you go deeper into it, the first source of material that you will find is coming out of Matt Taibbi. Matt Taibbi was the former chief editor, I believe, at the Rolling Stone magazine, covering politics and finance.
Yeah.
He's somewhat of a Hunter S. Thompson kind of...
Well, we would like him to be a Hunter S. Thompson.
But I think anybody that has followed American journalism would put him and Glenn Greenwald to be two of the premier investigative journalists over the last 2 decades in America. Yep. Right? So he has come up in his own Substack. I think it's called The Rocket, right? Detailing the Racket, yeah. Detailing the RussiaGate story, starting with the December meeting between Brennan, Clapper, and James Comey, right? So you've got the National Security, DNI, Department of National Intelligence. You've got head of the FBI in Comey, and you've got Brennan, which is the CIA director, right? During the Obama term. And remember, this is December 2016, which is when Donald Trump is already president-elect, that will be sworn in January 2021. Okay, so what happened since then is actually there was an ICA report, which is the Intelligence Community Assessment Report, that comes out that basically debunked any Russia collusion. There were attempts of Russia to influence the election, but it was deemed to have not been successful. I'm paraphrasing and briefing it for our audience. However, out of that, actually, an Obama memo came out instructing that the ICA be relooked again and changed. And that's where the crux were when Tulsi Gabbard came out with the press conference accusing the act of treason, right? Which is what Brennan then did, was insert information that was practically discredited by his own people that they did not want to have in the original report. Now, one of them being the Steele dossier. The Steele dossier is not Steele. It's a guy by the name of Steele. He is an ex-MI5 agent. He was the one doing investigation report. Basically, this is what they call digging dirt on your opponent, right? So this guy was paid by the Hillary Clinton campaign to dig dirt on Donald Trump. And within that Steele dossier include the story of Trump being videotaped in Moscow with prostitutes. So that particular Steele dossier was already discredited. They had no verification whatsoever, okay? But that was included into the ICA report instead by Brennan. Now that puts a whole spin to it. So you go from, and included in there as well is Brennan's own assertion that he was told that from a Russian source that Putin aspired for Trump to win the election. This is also not verified by anybody else. So all this basically was fabricated post Obama's instruction. Now that has become a problem, okay? Because now no longer is the ICA what they call objective, but there is political interference in terms of getting the ICA then put forward. Now, to put things into more complication, before the ICA was even presented to the president, it was leaked to Washington Post. Now, and that becomes newsworthy. Here's a twist to that part. An ICA document that is not declassified, that is leaked, you may be looking at an espionage charge. So that's another felony that you may be looking at. You are also looking at the probability of a felony to actually implicate a president, impeach him, and remove him via the 25th Amendment. So these are the things that I've looked at, and at the conclusion of it, the issue is very simple. There's a lot of things that has to be investigated. Now, to put things in perspective, right? I said, this is weird, because when Tulsi Gabbard was running for president for the Democratic nomination, who was she against? Hillary Clinton. She was then labeled as a Russian asset by whom? By the Clinton campaign. Don't forget, the Clinton campaign was also the one that actually started the birther movement, accusing that Barack Obama was not born in the US but was born in Kenya. That originated from the Hillary Clinton campaign. But let's pull it back and say, hey, Tulsi Gabbard was basically labeled as a Russian asset by the Clinton campaign during the nomination process. 1. 2, you've got the Steele dossier paid, I believe, approximately $14 million to the ex-MI5 operative to produce this dossier that actually cast an allegation on Trump being in Moscow, that then put him videotape that can be blackmailed by Putin's regime. Russia again. Okay? Then you've got the Hunter Biden laptop case, which is related to when Biden was vice president, right? Hunter was basically lobbying on behalf of Ukraine. Now, put all this together, I see Hillary's fingerprints all over the place. You must remember that the Democrat Party, especially Obama, was very invested in Hillary Clinton becoming president. Nobody gave Donald Trump a chance. Everybody thought Hillary, including myself, everybody thought Hillary was going to be the president. Okay? And I think they went all out. Remember, Obama paved the way for her to take the senatorship in New York, paved the way for her to be Secretary of State, and now she's running for the nomination, and now she's running for presidency of the United States. And now she lost. Okay? And we trace back to Russia. Everything ties back to Hillary Clinton. So, for our audience, I'm a TV nerd. One of my most favorite TV series is called House of Cards. And Robin Wright Penn played the wife of then the speaker and then became the president, Claire Underwood. So I said, dude, this is Hillary Claire Underwood Clinton all over again. It's just too much coincidence to be, there's too much coincidence for it to be a coincidence. Let's put it that way.
You must have spent the last few days reading all about this.
Yeah, and here's the thing. people in the mainstream media, I watched the mainstream media the last week, right? The mainstream media. The only media talking about this is cable media on Fox and one or two other podcasts. But the mainstream media has tried very much not to talk about this case, the same way they tried to not talk about the mental acuity problem of Joe Biden. They completely covered it up until it blew in their face during the presidential debate, right? So I'm seeing the same pattern all over again. For 2 years, what we saw was when Donald Trump took office, he was already facing impeachment and hearing on Russia collusion, on Russia interference of the 2016 election, right? It practically derailed almost all his initial presidency, right? Never has this ever happened to any president in the history that I know. Secondly, that you've got all the lawfare that was put on him, basically all the cases coming out of the Democratic districts, right? Like the Mar-a-Lago valuation case and loan from the bank, the so-called alleged defamation of rape, the Stormy Daniels payment, which a payment he made to his lawyer to pay off Stormy Daniels to shut up about it, and that become a campaign finance issue. So the Democrats, was twisting like a pretzel in order to get Trump not to even be able to run. Don't forget another thing. Almost, I think, 22 or 25 states actually tried to take him off the ballot for the presidency. And they failed. But they did try. So everybody was trying not to have him run again. Okay? And not just that, when he took over the presidency, they were already trying to remove him or put him in a position where he cannot govern. Now, here we are today, all right, with Tulsi's DNI revelation, Matt Taibbi's report, which is an investigative report, and I saw the Meet the Press on Sunday, right? They devoted 90% of it on the Epstein case. Nothing about this was hardly talked about. Nothing on the mainstream media.
You know what is really concerning here? Is the institutional capture that has become normalized.
Yep.
Whether you call it the legal system, whether you call it the arms of justice, whether it's the CIA or the FBI, whether you call it the media, there's been a universal coalescence of opinion which says, let's go with this side and let's not go with that side. And it continues to go until today. What I'm more concerned about is not only the institutional capture that is normalized in the US, but it's also in other parts of the world, in developed countries and non-developing and developing countries.
In our...
Wait, sorry.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
When you have the media that is able to craft narratives according to the powers that be, and then now you've got automation and AI, where you basically feed in prompts into the system, and they can create essentially likenesses of you as if you're talking, saying a certain thing. That is the really scary part, because already opinions are being shaped. We live in Southeast Asia, right? And there's universal disdain for Donald Trump. Universal. Everybody seems to think he's a complete psycho. But we think there is a method to the madness. I understand, right? But narratives have been crafted to make people think a certain way. What about when automation comes? That's what I'm really concerned about.
I think even before we go to automation, let me finish.
No, yeah, I agree. Yeah, just,
I know. But let me finish even at this case, because even at this case, I think, people has been bombarded with propaganda over the last decade,
Oh, way more than that, mate.
Right?
Way more than that.
Because it is way more than that. But I think the left-wing propaganda and Democrat-leaning propaganda has been on steroid ever since Trump came down the escalator in New York, right? So, and when he won, there was every instance to actually bring him down or basically ensure his administration fails. That is so clear cut. The media, the opposition party, I mean, at least if you want to be the loyal opposition, you want to see your government succeed, but point out where they are wrong. But in this case, what we have is complete opposition to ensure that he fails. And even if it is manufactured for him to fail, so be it, right? So this is what we are facing. Now, when I look at this RussiaGate situation, I see Hillary Clinton's fingerprints all over it. I don't know because I think Obama, as we mentioned earlier, has got immunity, right? But I do think that the guy that's going to fall on the sword is going to be Brennan, okay? Because I think he is the middle of it. He's the one who brings up and concocted it. And supporting cast will be James Clapper and Comey.
Well, the truth of the matter is, even though those who are culpable and who ostensibly serve time behind so-called bars, they're not really though. I mean, if the powers that be decide that these are the ones that take the fall, their fall is going to be with a silk parachute, usually, right? Maybe their family members get paid off. They're going to get some kind of like
not really in America. No, because what will happen is that
you remember the global financial crisis, right? The bankers were the ones responsible for creating this exotic instruments.
But nobody even
no banker went to jail.
Yes. So let me put the difference on that, right? I'll take the difference in, let's say, Iran-Contra, the scandal of Iran-Contra when Reagan was the president, right? Reagan went off unscathed. Who took the fall? John Poindexter and Oliver North, okay? Who was actually crafting the arms for drug deal for the Iran-Contra scandal. Now, in that case, basically, they're going for perjury towards Congress during the hearings, right? And that is a very light sentence. So if you look at this case and knowing the team of Trump, and I think I defy anybody who has been propagandized by the mainstream media, I will say this Trump team is top-notch. They did not come out with all this without an end goal in mind. I think what we're going to see, I may be wrong, but I'm willing to put a bet that we're going to see a special counsel being appointed, and it's going to drag for 2 years across and drag everybody, Clinton, Obama, Comey, Brennan, everybody. They're going to be dragged through the coal for the whole 2 years.
This dragnet is so familiar, even in our little country, right?
Yeah. And
the
then
administrations come in, and then, yeah.
Here's the thing, so far, in terms of the theories I've heard, a lot of people were saying as well in the initial stage of this last week is, but what are they going to get charged with, right? They say, perjury, okay, you get suspended sentence for 6 months or 18 months, right? And then is there a statute of limitation? But then now if we get into felony conspiracy to overthrow the president, okay, you may go and you can make it stick. That's one felony. The other felony that actually was discussed by Matt Taibbi and John Kirakau, who is the ex-CIA operative, right? He went to jail for blowing the whistle on the CIA torture, okay? So they were talking about it, and he came up with something that struck me, which is espionage. Because why? If you leak out to the press or anybody else a classified information, that has yet to be declassified, then you're breaking the Espionage Act. And that, my friend, is a jail term. Okay? So you're talking about the likes of Snowden. Okay?
Does Obama go to jail?
I think Obama has got immunity. If you ask me, not knowing the legal thing. And that's
For
where
Brennan
I'm
and Comey to
inclined.
go to jail, no problem.
That
right?
is
because they are civilians.
Right. That is why I sort of like have
So they will take the fall, right?
so you're going to have Brennan take the fall,
Yeah.
Comey take the fall.
For sure.
Yeah. But the most important objective out of all this is just not make people pay, right, for this whole attempt at actually subverting the presidency. Whether it was Trump or whomever moving forward, this is subversion of the presidency because the guy you want to win lost, Hillary.
Okay, so if this special counsel takes place, and I saw your participation on a two-way podcast, right?
Right.
Mark Halpin doesn't like special counsels. There's a mixed record where
I'll
special
tell you
counsels...
why special counsel.
Sorry, wait, hang
Yeah,
on.
go ahead.
So if we have a council happen, right, and essentially America and the rest of the world are dragged through this drama unfold for whether it's 1 or 2 years, right? What is it going to do for America's reputation as this holier-than-thou big brother bastion of freedom and democracy, which the virtues of which they expound all the time? Look, you're rotten from the inside. All the dirty laundry is going to be demonstrated to the rest of the world.
I see that.
What's it going to do for America's reputation?
I honestly
do they
see
know the consequences of doing such a thing?
No, I see it.
Do they care?
Chuang, I see it completely different. Because as it is right now, the way the mainstream media has been portraying the Trump administration and the presidency itself, they have already, I would say it is bordering on treasonous. They are already calling up Trump as being the buffoon, the idiot, the clown, whatever you name it. So the mainstream media has already tarnished the reputation of America, right? So now what you are having is very simple. All the Trump administration need to do is actually deliver on the economic results, deliver on their military capability, deliver on peace as much as they can right now. Right now, the two biggest problems that they face is still Gaza and Ukraine, right? He's managed to actually stamp out quite a few fires. So you've got a very big contrast between Biden administration and what Trump is doing just within the 6 months. And especially if the economic side blooms or gets to a better state for the whole world, including for America, then what you're seeing is actually maybe then the world sees the mainstream media has been feeding us lies. So this is the truth of what is happening, right? So it's very different. To me, it's almost like COVID, right? During COVID, what happened? Everybody was told to mask up. Everybody was told that actually, if you mask up, you will not be getting infected by COVID. Everybody was told get the vaccine. Everything was fine. Lo and behold, today we are looking at vaccine-induced myocarditis. So all this propaganda will just blow up on its own face. And I think it's time that the mainstream media is exposed for the lies they have been telling us from COVID, from economics, from politics, and all their biases are shown to the world. So I'm more inclined to think that I think this is a good development. I think for the first time, I think with what is going on, let it unfold for 2 years the way COVID unfolded for 2 years, and showing up how the medical community and the medical authority had actually made money out of COVID.
I find it so intriguing that the big tycoons buy the biggest media titles. Jack Ma bought the South China Morning Post.
Yeah.
Jeff Bezos bought the Washington Post.
Yeah.
Right. Katharine Graham, obviously the Washington Post owners, right? Berkshire Hathaway invested in.
Well, Bezos bought it already.
Correct.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure whether Berkshire Hathaway still has shares inside. So the power brokers are the ones that own the media narrative. So the thing is that if you extrapolate one level higher, right? Who owns the robots? Who owns AI? Who owns automation? Those people that own those powers are the ones who get to control the media opinion or the public opinion.
Well, as it is already.
The truth is today, for the mass people, they're still reading mainstream media. They're still going to the Wall Street Journal.
Unfortunately.
They're still going to the Financial Times. They're still going to the Economist.
Yeah.
I know lots of people have an Economist subscription. I think it's a pack of lies, but I'm in the minority.
Yeah. No, I still. If you read the Guardian,
they're still vilifying Donald Trump.
Yeah, not just vilifying Donald Trump. Everything that is.
This latest fracas with him in Scotland playing golf, and then there's short videos of him ostensibly cheating and dropping balls out. Come on, man, right? But you see, the thing is, right? The public have a very strong nose for bullshit. I think they might read it, but do they believe it? I think we have our sense of bullshit has really refined to such a fine instinct that we can smell crap when we see it.
Yeah,
because in your heart of hearts, right? There's something fishy going on there.
I know.
Do you know what I mean, right?
I know.
Yeah.
It's something that actually, hopefully, along with our audience, they come along with us and see that as we unpeel the onion, the bullshit that has been going on, and it opens up their eyes and start asking questions, really obvious questions, right? The why.
The why.
Is it,
the what doesn't matter. It's the why.
It's the why.
Matters, yeah.
And to me, I always start with what, If I see a headline that has an adjective, I already have a red flag on. Okay? Just give me the facts. Right?
Okay, so let me be very mischievous here. Okay?
Right.
The nose for bullshit, right? There's a direct proportionality between what we read in the media and let's just say larger themes. For example, faith. Lots of people question, let's not give it a specific name. Let's just say faith in general, right? Books of faith, whatever they may be, is riddled with idiosyncrasies and riddled with inconsistencies.
You're gonna get me into trouble, are you?
I'm not saying anything to you.
Okay.
I'm just saying that people, right, have been duped for millennia. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Right? Until today, billions of people around the world swallow the inconsistencies and still devote their entire lives and livelihoods to something which doesn't make sense. Okay, let's just say, for example, to be safer, ESG, for example, right? DEI, for example.
Oh, I was going to keep that for the next episode.
I don't know, it doesn't matter, right?
Right.
But there's been so many things that have been introduced into the public narrative,
right,
which don't make sense but serve the powers that be, whether it's the climate, whether it's the environment, whether it's DEI, what is that thing called diversity, equality, inclusion? What a lot of shit. Do you know what I mean, right? And the thing is, it's not as if I'm that much cleverer than anybody else, right? How is it I can smell, my smell of shit is better than the next guy? I don't know, maybe I'm just cynical. Do you know what I mean, right?
I think there are two factors that make a person a little bit more cynical than others. Number one, you have to have a characteristics of actually not believing the conventional wisdom of the masses. You are the kind of person that question dogma, okay? That questions why are people turning right? Why is everybody turning right? Yeah. What's wrong with turning left? Right? Just simple things like that and asking that question. You must have that innate ability to be cynical, right? And that then comes the next part, which is actually more difficult, which is the
form an original opinion.
Curiosity. Okay, most people does not have the characteristics of being curious. You have to have the curiosity to ask the why, the how, the why especially, and keep on questioning the why all the time. Why this? Oh, that? Why that? So the cascade. Because in our society, especially in Asian society, if you ask too many questions, it slap you and put you down.
Exactly. Asian mentality is to be compliant, is to be acquiescence, right?
Right.
We're not meant to question our elders, right? Even our faiths say, shut up, don't question, just take it as gospel. That is inherently problematic.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, think about it this way. In Islam,
You and I didn't go.
to even, I'm just going to let people to think this way. To even ask to even, what is that word? To even ask the question or have doubt. Because in order for you to ask question, you need to have certain doubt. All right?
Why must I dress
That
this
is
way?
considered to be, that is considered to actually make you a murtad, which is, it will get you out of the religion already. Okay? So you're not even, if you're not even allowed to ask or have any semblance of doubt, how do you question? So you are already trained to accept things at face value, right? So here we are. The other thing that we like in our society, not just Asian, but also Western society, is if somebody in power or authority or institution tell you A it is. We accept it because, the authority tells us. Oh, the paper tells us. Oh, the king tells us. The prime minister tells us. Nobody not just want, but nobody dares and nobody feels it's their right to question, but it is their right to accept.
Yeah.
Okay? So, may I go back to where we were?
Yeah, let's talk about this whole thing with Donald Trump, right? And let me do the link. Let me establish the link.
Right.
Yesterday, I reached out to a friend of mine who's a very respected economist, and I said, hey, come to this podcast. It's a new podcast. We're going to be discussing geopolitics, international relations, international policy. My co-host is this guy Shamsul, and he's a former energy CEO, publicly listed company, started a couple of things. He's a pro-Trump guy. And it was the last, I haven't even told you about it, I'm doing this on the podcast, right? It was the last 4 words which got his hackles raised. He said to me, I'm not getting into a podcast with a guy who's going to be unapologetically Trump. I'm not going to waste my time with this guy. Which made me think to myself, right? This guy's a smart guy. He's got a lot of substance to him, right? But why on face value does he not want to enter a fray with someone who doesn't have an opinion of him? And more to the point, he's a Trump person, which makes me think that overwhelmingly in this part of the world, everybody is against Trump. But if you look at, and I never used to like Trump, but Trump I want especially, him and his braggadocio and his, blustering style. But then when I analyze it on second and third levels, right, the disagreement with Trump is a process disagreement. It's how he goes about things. It's
process and style.
It's a style and process disagreement.
Yes.
People don't like his style. But if you look at the results, right now, if you look on monthly receipts in terms of tariff collections, it's somewhere around the region of $30 to $35 billion a month, right?
Yeah, you're looking now at about more than 100 billion for the first 6 months. So you're looking at 200, maybe even they're going to reach 300 billion for the year.
If you had gone about this whole process like an Asian person would, which is to be consensual, which is to be peaceful, is to be amicable, to be respectful, he wouldn't have fucking gone anywhere, right?
Yep.
But he comes in, he's fucking firing from both fucking
Not just
holsters,
that,
and he says to you, I'm gonna fucking give you 150% tariffs, right? People are like shocked. They're like, what the hell, right? And then they settle at 50. So now the blended tariff rate, according to I think, was it Harvard or Yale policy labor think tank, is about 18.2%. And that's a great profit margin for Americans. The problem is, will producers pass on these costs? They're going to pay 18% at the border, right? Once they bring the stuff in. But then once they're in the market, do they then pass on these costs to the consumers? Maybe, maybe not, right? But you don't have to buy it, right? Who says you've got to buy French wine? Who says you've got to buy Japanese cars? Who says you've got to buy BMWs? You don't have to.
Well,
just go ahead and buy the American car. So it's consumer choice, right?
So shall we segue into our second topic?
Yeah, which is the
update on the tariffs.
This is what the media said was going to happen on the Trump tariffs.
You can't undo the damage. The Trump slump is upon us now.
We're in a car driven by somebody who is blackout drunk. And it's like one of those bad Bugs Bunny cartoons. It's Looney Tunes.
This is not Liberation Day in America. It's Recession Day.
The greatest man-made economic crisis in modern presidential history, and paralyze American businesses, large and small, forcing them to lay off people, to stop hiring or pause investment decisions.
It feels like there's an expression in tech called chaos monkey. Well, this particular chaos monkey is throwing feces all over the planet, essentially, and saying, enjoy it. So I don't.
Kara Swisher, who knows nothing. So you saw top Dems, top media pundits saying it's doom and gloom, it's economic catastrophe coming our way.
Success or not of the tariffs, right?
So I would like to start out to answer your question by looking at the tariffs agreement for the EU. Okay, which is just 48 hours ago, all right, where you got the president of the European Union flying down to Aberdeen,
shaking hands with the fella,
shaking hand with the fella, right, and the deal is done.
And a lot of critics saying that she, right, kowtowed to the man.
Right.
Yeah.
Here's the thing with EU, okay? So their starting point was 30%. Okay? America's tariff whack on them was 30%. So they ended up with 15%. Okay? So that's a 50% cut from where they start off. Now, the EU is saying, some of the EU members are saying, you know, why did you fall at 15%? The UK is getting 10%.
The UK and the US have a special relationship.
Now, not only that.
And they're not part of the EU.
They're not part of the EU. And also, they don't have the bureaucracy, the non-tariff barriers of the EU that need to be dismantled over time.
We can't even sell our palm oil there, right?
Correct.
Et cetera, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, what happens? So, you end up with 15%. Okay? It's hell of a lot better than 30%. All right? Now, that's one. Second, you are Johnny come lately. If you had tried to work it out much earlier, for all you know, you may end up with 12.
What did Japan get? 15 or 10 or 15 or something?
Around 15%, right? I believe. Yeah.
So Japan's another good buddy of America, right?
But it's not a question. Again, people don't get this. It's not about being good buddy. It's about reciprocity. Because what people don't see is a lot of country has high non-tariff barriers, right? The EU bureaucracy, their ESG requirement and certification, their ISO requirement and certification, their emission standards for vehicle, all right? Their climate requirement for your sustainability requirement. All those are non-tariff barriers.
I remember watching Top Gear once, long year, you know, Jeremy Clarkson and Richard Hammond, right?
Right.
Richard Hammond is an American in disguise, right? You know Top Gear, right?
Yeah, I know.
So Richard Hammond loves muscle cars, you know, T-Birds and Mustangs. They could never buy those cars in the UK. Why? Emissions.
Yeah.
Right? Too loud, too noisy, too smelly. Right? They couldn't sell those cars in Europe.
So that.
But conversely, you could buy Jaguars, you could buy Alphas, you could buy Maseratis and Porsches and BMWs in America, right? That is the example of
zero tariff.
Yeah. So there you go, right? So when I look at Donald Trump with a closer lens now, he has done the right. Well, I'm not a Trump apologist, right? But I see the results. Yeah. Now he's trying to get.
No, I mean the trade
synchronicity, right?
That's why I said,
right?
In the last
there are no American cars in Europe.
There's no fair market. The market is not fair.
So what I'm saying, I think what we are saying is we're on the same page. We're saying, look, question everything, right?
Yeah.
Don't believe the hyperbole, right? And see it for beyond what the experts headlines are saying.
Beyond what the experts say.
I am no means a Trump apologist. I think he's a bit of a weirdo, right?
Well,
but I look at his results. He's great television, okay? He's great. I'll give the bugger that. He's great television, right? But look at the results.
Well, I look at it this way. I think he's different. I'm not a fanboy. That's the best way to describe it. But I understand Trump's mentality and characteristics. For a very simple reason why I understand that characteristics, because he's different. And I've done my business personally also different. I'm not your typical Malaysian or Asian businessman, right? I don't go into, and if my client is, or my counterparty is being a jackass, I'll do two things. If I have the, if I don't like it, I'll walk away. Even I don't want his business. I don't care, because I know it's going to be a lot more headache trying to deal with it. If I have the leverage, I'll tell him, you're a jackass. All right, this is what I'm going to give you. You take it or you leave it. And then you know why? Because I know my leverage. He'll come and negotiate with me.
So it's the same in the European Union, right? Part of the reason why the European Union took those terms, they had no choice. They buy a lot of arms. In fact, they're social security, right?
Yeah.
That's the thing, right? They know they can't alienate America because America protects them.
Yeah.
If they don't have America's protection, if America don't have their six, they're fucked.
Yeah.
Essentially, right?
Yeah.
Because the region is at war.
Yeah. No, I mean, look.
So part of the deal that America did with the Union, with the European Union, is the sale of weapons. I hate to say it, but it's a geopolitical game. It's not a trade game necessarily where the EU is concerned. It was also a geopolitical game, right? And a huge portion of that deal with the European Union was to buy American weapons to protect themselves against the perceived Russian threat. And by the way, America hasn't done a deal with Russia yet. Putin seems to be holding off. And this whole so-called ceasefire that apparently him and Putin were supposed to broker hasn't happened yet either.
Well, what has happened now is actually he's given him a 50-day time frame. Now he's bringing it down to what, 12 days or something? Yeah. So I think going back to the EU, it shows very clearly the function of leverage, right? It shows clearly, like what you say, I don't have to buy your wine.
Yeah. You can buy Californian wine, right? Great stuff.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I don't have to buy your olive oil.
I don't
can grow
have
it
to
in
buy.
California.
I don't have to buy your BMW.
Your Lanvins or your Armanis. I don't have to buy.
I
all
don't
that,
have to
right?
buy.
Right.
So
Saks Fifth Avenue is just
right.
whatever it is,
so,
right?
you know, for that's exactly the thing. That market of $82,000 per capita GDP, okay, is huge for a 350 million population. Okay? You cannot just simply say, okay, I'm going to export it to Nigeria. I'm going to export it. Excuse me, you want to export it to China? You know what is China's GDP per capita? Guess.
GNI per capita. GDP is about the same as the US.
But,
about $22 trillion give or take. But who's
I'm talking about per capita.
GNI, right?
So basically,
somewhere around 25,000 or something, right? 20,000?
Lower than that.
Yeah.
Right? Because why? So we're talking about personal consumption level, right? So your consumer is at the personal consumption level.
I mean, you've been to America many times. Are they buying European fashion labels? They are, right?
They are.
Right?
Yeah, but they don't have to.
And what is that new one called? So many of them now, right?
Yeah, I mean, they don't have to, as I said.
Yeah.
You know, I find that actually, I mean, a lot of things that people are buying from China, for example, are actually really, unless you're talking about rare earth minerals, right? A lot of
things. Which you can't buy anywhere else in the world except far from China.
Well, I think what is going to be very interesting with the Defense Department taking stocks into a rare earth company, they are going to open up pretty fast. You just watch. The problem with America, they have this landmass. They have a lot. Rare earth is not that rare, by the way.
You got to go and dig it, lah.
Yeah, you got to go and dig it. But you know, you can double and quadruple your production in actually 4 years. I can tell you. You can do it in 4 years.
Is that why he wants Greenland? That's another part of the
Why
reason,
not,
right?
But actually, the problem in America goes back to what? Regulation, environmental regulation. For the Chinese, they don't care. They don't care. Have anybody ever seen how a rare earth mining operation looks like?
I haven't. What does
It's
it look
horrible.
like? Yeah.
Yeah. It's like you see this whole this whole chasm of hills being dug out, and all of a sudden you just see, just earth being taken away. It's environmental degradation, right? And in Africa, the people who are doing, are just poor people, and they don't care about the environment, or they don't care about the welfare. It doesn't matter. So when you guys think, oh yeah, we have our expensive, sleek handphones, and
Come from a hole in China.
it comes from the sweat of practically slave labor, guys. All right, when you drive your Teslas and your BYDs and you are going hoity-toity saying that, I am green for the environment. Holy
Bullshit
shit! You guys are actually engaging slave labor.
Let's not even talk about EVs. Let's talk about those diamonds that you bought. Those diamonds from De Beers, right? 82% of the global market captivated by De Beers. Do you know where those diamonds come from?
But that market is going to collapse.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
You know why? Because they've already got manufactured diamonds.
Yes.
That
The VVVVVV.
that looks even better than the real diamonds.
Flawless.
Yeah. So I mean, going back to, I must go back to EU.
Anyway,
I must go back to EU. I think EU shows us very clearly where the leverage lies, and therefore, actually, if you ask me, the next step is, I think Canada is a very interesting situation because Canada has really not folded. So I think what's going to happen is they're going to get slapped with their tariffs, and then it's a question of who's gonna blink, because really the Canadians can't really swing their exports anywhere else, and for 77% of their exports are going to America, and you're going to say, ask Mexico to buy it? Give me a break. So I think that's going to be an interesting lesson for everybody in terms of economics. You know what it is about economics that I find very amusing? If you go to mainstream media, right, whether it be here or in Malaysia or in Asia or in America or the Western media, here's what I find interesting about when they talk about economics. There are two kinds of people that come to the news media to be experts. They are either theoretical economists that has done shit in their life, but actually stay in the ivory tower of academia, okay? Or they are basically Wall Street people who actually shuffle papers and then make money from equity, and talk about interest rates, talk about bond market, talk about the stock market up and rise, and financial instruments. None of those two groups of so-called experts has ever sold a single brick in their bloody life. Okay?
I thought you were about to swear right
I know. All right? None of them. Okay? So with all due apology, I have no respect for either class, because why? They've never done any business, really. All right? I would rather listen to the makcik selling pisang goreng at Taman Tun, because she can tell me the supply and demand situation between 3 o'clock and 5 o'clock. You know? She knows better. She knows better where to get her bananas, and she knows better the best time for her to actually sell it, and also what kind of inflationary pressure she gets with the cost of cooking oil and flour.
What does ASEAN do? I mean, we talk about a lot of things, right? But the main question is, what does it mean for all of us?
Well, what does ASEAN do?
What is ASEAN? How does Southeast Asia? Because there will come a point in time we've got to make a choice. Right now, we are kind of like the village bicycle, right? We go with anybody and everybody. We have no choice. Too fragmented, too small. Better as a bunch rather than as an individual.
There's not going to be a bunch. I'm sorry, I'm being very realistic.
AEC has been slow. It's been off the mark.
You can't. I mean, you're selling the same thing I'm selling. right? Vietnam is selling t-shirt, I'm selling t-shirt. Let's put it that way as a simple example. All right? Vietnam selling t-shirt, I'm selling t-shirt, Thailand selling t-shirt. Okay? Malaysia selling palm oil, Indonesia selling palm oil. All right? You think I'm going to work with you and get together our customers? No. No way. I'm going to go and provide the best quality, the best price I can get to get the most of the customers out there in the world. So I'm competing against you. What ASEAN solidarity are you talking about? Bullshit. All right? It ain't gonna happen. Okay? So, it's a market that, because we all sell the same thing. You know? We all sell the same thing. So how do you, that's where I always say you
So
differentiate.
down that path lies colonization.
It's not about colonization.
No, because if you can't work as a collective, you're going to be standing alone. You're going to be competing with each other. And in-house competition, right? In-house strife breeds weakness. And when you're weak...
Singapore, you think Singapore needs you?
No, I'm not saying... Look, if we are trying to... If Southeast Asia is trying to work as a bloc against the rest of the world, right? But you've got powers like the US and China who are obviously got so much leverage, right? I'm just wondering what it means for all of us. What does it mean for the economy? What does it mean for jobs? What does it mean for livelihoods, living standards and all that, right?
I'll tell you what it means.
So down the line, I'm not talking about next year. I'm talking about 3, 5, 9 years
let me
time,
tell you
right?
what it means. It means that each country, there are two things that can happen, that must happen for each country. Each country must evolve to be more efficient, okay, than the other country. It is a dog-eat-dog world. I am sorry, okay? So we are different governments. We have different form of governments. We have different political persons and political parties and political systems that govern each country.
Different cultures as well.
Correct. It's almost like you are asking me, Chuang, why don't we go and we need houses in Mont Kiara, yeah? Right? We need houses in Mont Kiara. Why don't all of us people who want to buy houses band together and then we go and negotiate? It ain't gonna happen. Right? Because you got your own priority, you got your own needs, you got your own concerns. Alright? Your income is different. How you get your income is different. We can have an association of buyers of property in Mont Kiara. It ain't gonna happen.
So what does that all mean then?
What it means is very simple. It is already is what it is, we can see. Why is Singapore having a per capita GDP of in excess, if I'm not mistaken,
90,000?
about 40,000
More.
No, cannot. I'm talking about per capita GDP.
GNI. GNI.
I tend to look
GNI
at GDP.
is the benchmark, right? Yeah.
I tend to look at GDP per capita
Okay.
as an easy way reference,
Okay.
right? And I think because I know US is about 82,000, Malaysia is about 12,000, but lo and behold, you look at Singapore GDP, right? For that small dot, here's it.
Where's Jamie when you need him?
I know. This is what you call GDP per capita. Singapore is 84,000 USD in 2023.
Higher now. Higher now.
Yeah. I hope this is not PPP. Yeah, that's not, because I hate PPP.
That's probably nominal, right?
Yeah, hold on. Malaysia is about, what is wrong with this AI? Malaysia is about 12,000 and a half. So look at how the disparate it is. And they don't even have mineral resources. They don't even have natural resources. So it's all about efficiency. It's all about...
well, you know, if you look at the Klang Valley by itself, right?
Right.
The Klang Valley GDP per capita is very similar to Singapore. Because that's the size of Singapore, right? It's not very big.
Yeah, I
Right?
mean, but
But I mean, contextualize everything, right? The perspective is important. Because Singapore's landmass is tiny. The producing geography is tiny. If you look at this, just a Singapore, just the Klang Valley GDP per capita, or GNI per capita, is crazy high. But that doesn't matter. What the point you're trying to make is that everybody got to get faster, better, and more efficient. I understand. Correct, I understand, right? Do we have the policymakers to push that through? I don't know.
I want to bring the sad news. I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, right?
Yeah.
You know,
I've given up reading the local, talk about mainstream media, right? I've given up reading the local media years already. Because every time I open the media, it's about this dickhead trying to overthrow that dickhead, right? And it's the same dickheads from 40 years ago. I mean, fucking hell, man. Grow a fucking pair of balls, right? And retire and die. Do you know what I mean, right? I hate these fuckers.
well, let's
And
put
they're
it
in
this
charge.
way. No, we have a systemic issue, okay? We have institutionalized.
It's called gerontology.
No, let me
It just
put it this
won't
way.
go away.
Chuang, we have institutionalized inefficiency, we have institutionalized corruption, we have institutionalized mediocrity, unfortunately. And this is the worst, this is what has happened in almost all developing countries.
You know SPM, right?
Those that,
Form 5 exams, right? Passing mark for Bahasa, Malay, right? It's 40%.
Right.
Passing mark.
ask yourself, what is the passing mark for science and math?
Fuck knows. 30, 25, I don't know.
There you go.
I don't know.
So if the developing world does not get its act together, it's nobody's fault but theirs. How can you blame other people for colonizing you if you yourself are actually screwing your own self, your own people, in order for you to get rich? Your small 1% strata is getting rich at the expense of your 99% of people.
But that's capitalism, no?
No, it's not.
It's capitalism.
No, it's not.
Because you work harder, you take more risk.
It's not about working harder, buddy. It's about when you create a system where actually you're rent-seeking. That's not capitalism.
No,
Rent-seeking is
Sam,
not capitalism.
I understand. But in Malaysia, if you do the right things, you can still get rich. That's my point. You can be rich anywhere in the world. For those people that are trying to write the disproportionality
I hate to say this, but I do
with
say...
ratios and quotas,
Well, let's put it this way.
doesn't work.
If the way I work and the way I do things, if I were in US, I'll probably be a billionaire.
We'll never know that though, would we?
I know for sure. Guaranteed. I'm that confident.
Maybe you should go there.
Yeah, I'm too old for that. But that's the problem.
Not if you put in the Neuralink.
Systemically, we have institutionalized over 40 years mediocrity, right?
That part I agree with.
Whereas Lee Kuan Yew started out very correct. The first thing he did when he had Singapore as a nation is to have the language of instruction to be English. He could have easily said, we are Chinese majority country where we should have Mandarin. Why didn't he? So all these things, I urge our audience to really understand, it's not that when there are also Americans that say, oh, we are doing bad on our trading partner. Dude, your trading partner is doing bad on you and doing bad on their own people. Okay? You deserve what you get in life.
Okay, so to summarize, right? First key takeaway, question everything. The why is more important than the what. Second key takeaway, what?
Second takeaway is zig when other people zag.
Take the road less traveled, Robert Frost, okay?
Yeah, look at things between the line, right? I mean, we've seen that already. I hope that actually I've laid out this DNI case from Tulsi Gabbard and the RussiaGate so that people see, oh, maybe there's more to it than I've been told. And then, let's say, see it unspool. What I love about what we're doing, Chuang, is that I think we are going ahead. We We are ahead of the news cycle. We are basically making projection. We made the projection on the tariffs as well. We are saying that Trump is going to mostly win. Now, we anticipate that China is going to be quite difficult. But the difficulty of China is going to be more than actually who holds what power. They have a strategic power on mineral, but they also have a strategic weakness when it comes to their overcapacity in terms of their export. You know, so I want to have that discussion on Friday. On Friday, we are going to have the discussion with the China expert.
Yeah, Fui.
Right?
Yeah.
Fui. And in that discussion, I want to have a very open discussion in terms of what exactly is going on in China. Because in my opinion, and I may be wrong here, and I want to hear her ideas and her thoughts and her knowledge. Because I am wondering, what are the situation in China? Why do they have an overbuilding problem? How does that impact their credit situation over there? You know, is their debt situation really manageable? Is their employment situation really what is told? Because everything that is coming out of China is filtered through the CCP data machine. So, but the reality that I see is that maybe it's not about leverage at all at the moment. It's whether really does America can get what it wants because of China's own problems. You know, I saw Scott Bessent being interviewed 2 days ago. And he used this word. He said China need to be rebalancing their economy in the sense that they are basically 30% of global manufacturing, and that is not sustainable. Number one. Secondly, he mentioned that China need to be more of a consumer society. And I almost want to tell Scott Bessent, you know, I tried to get myself into the TV and said, Scott, are you trying to be sarcastic or are you being delusional? Because you cannot have a society where it's dependent on GDP metric in order for the ruling party to get the ruling party personnel to actually move up the chain of command, whilst your people are churning out products at the cheapest they can do, because why? Unit cost, unit cost value. So the cheaper they do it, the cheaper they are paid, the better off they are. Now the question then come to the demographic side. Do they really have the population that are actually going to consume? So I don't think Scott Bessent is going to get what he wants, even if he use whatever incentives, whether it be by strong arming the Chinese Communist Party. I don't think so. I don't think they're going to get the result they want. You get what I mean, or not?
Let's see what Fui says, because obviously the problem is we don't have the Chinese point of view.
Yeah, so we're going to wait for Friday for the Chinese point of view.
Yeah, we're listening to Americans on American podcasts talking about the American point of view. Even what we know is a narrative that is third hand at best, right? At best, right?
Yeah.
I haven't heard anyone from China go on YouTube and talk about their position, where the trade talks are concerned, where the tariff talks are concerned. That's the problem, because China is opaque.
Well,
right?
you know, Jack Ma talked too much and then he disappeared.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's different styles, right? It's different styles. So America is all about being in your face, bluster, braggadocio.
Not just that, you can hear one party say one thing, you know, and then the other party is going to go 180 degrees.
It's a circus, right?
Yeah.
China, on the other hand, is this impossible wall. You just see a facade, and then the glass.
And you're expected to accept whatever that comes out of the filter.
Yeah, it's diametrically opposed, different styles. And We don't know the Chinese point of view. We don't know a lot of things because what they feed the world, as you say, filtered, right? The numbers have never been believable.
You know what I find very interesting, which I don't want to bring up on
And
Friday.
there's this whole succession thing you talked about, infighting. I don't know. It could be. I mean, remember there was a Zhao Enlai, and then Zhao Enlai was gone, right?
Yeah.
Do you remember, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of questions.
Well,
right?
there is one thing that I find very interesting during my research in terms of the historical evolution of Chinese society coming from the dynasties to the CCP. It's very much what they called it's a very weak society with a very strong government. You know, the society has got no. The society actually has got no power.
When I was in Luguhu, which is the lake in northern China,
Yeah.
very near the Tibetan border,
Right.
one of my group had left her wallet and her jacket. The jacket was actually Canadian Goose, very expensive brand, right?
Right.
Left it on the park bench.
Right.
We were gone for about 45 minutes.
Right.
Wallet, credit cards, cash, came back, still there. Do you know why? Everybody in China is obedient. There's the police presence are everywhere. There's cameras everywhere. Nobody steps out of line. So what you're saying, is it true? Probably. In America, the thing is gone in a flash. Boom, gone.
Not true as well, because here's the funny thing, unless you go to the wrong side of town.
Yeah, lah, bro.
Yeah.
Of course, right?
Yeah.
But universal, I've been to Beijing and Harbin in the east. I've been to Yunnan and Tibet in the west. There was a universality of acquiescence with Big Brother. And there's cameras everywhere. Everywhere, bro.
I find
Police
that,
presence everywhere, military presence everywhere. Every state border you cross, there's barriers, there's border controls, there's guards.
that's why to
There
that
are
extent,
dogs.
sometimes to that extent, you remember when we used to joke, right? When Singapore drivers come to Malaysia, they drive like they're,
Yeah, like they're free, right?
yes.
Yeah.
So there's a very different dynamics going
But
on.
Singapore is successful, yeah, but they're
Yeah.
very.
But you know, it's very interesting. I think. I mean, when I look at to a certain extent, we never find people for queue cutting, right? We don't have rules like that. I remember when I was in my 70s. In the 70s, when queue cutting from Butterworth to Penang, taking the ferry, was a mess.
Yeah.
Okay, but by the time I come home in
It's
the
gone,
80s,
right, gone.
everything was so organized, and there was no need for actually enforcement by a fines. So there are different ways that you skin a cat and you get a different type of society. I find that actually, if you ask me, Malaysian society, I admire. I really admire our Malaysian society from the point of view of, on average, of course, there are places where you find, aberration. But in general, our society are more polite. Our society are more giving. And
Forgiving and giving. as
and
well.
giving and charitable and actually very helpful, right? We don't have fights on airplanes. Like 2 days ago, I saw the flight from the viral clip from KL to Chengdu.
I saw that, yeah.
Yeah, we don't have that. It's just unbecoming, you know. So there are something to be said about how a culture evolved. Sometimes when you impose authority, you actually are not changing the culture. You're changing people's behavior by punishment, and actually they do not change. The day the punishment is not looking at them, they revert back to norm. You know, so I think we sort of like going all over the place today, right? But that's our Wednesday.
It's okay.
Yeah. So I think
People tune in for your.
huh?
Not just being a people tune in for the
For the
I don't know,
rants and the thoughts
for
and
this and that, mainly that, right?
yeah. But the the thing that I find, going back to your question about how does it affect us, I think sometimes we need punishment. We need to have punishment in the sense that the conditions are such that the people will have to make the change themselves. I mean, if Singapore can get 10%, Singapore is only baseline 10%, yeah? Okay? Why? Ever ask that? Why? Right? Why does Indonesia get, what did Indonesia get, by the way? I forgot. Indonesia is lower than us. I think that's for sure.
Well, Malaysia hasn't done anything yet, right?
Yeah, Malaysia got higher.
No, have we settled? We haven't yet, right?
What is that?
We haven't
25%. Malaysia is 25%.
Confirm.
Okay? Via a letter. And it's very simple. There are two red lines according to them, apparently. One is the Bumi Putra policy. Second is actually the halal certification.
Yeah.
All right? So those are the two that were brought up, that were mentioned. Okay? Don't even talk. We mentioned the other day. What about the monopolies? Okay? So the thing then becomes, what are we willing to sacrifice? Are we willing to sacrifice our people, or are we willing to sacrifice our cronies? Right? So the same goes to Indonesia. And I think Indonesia decided that, okay, I got to get my cronies to actually bend a little. I'll give it away so that my whole economy doesn't collapse. You know? So these are the things that, instead of blaming others, and this is the bloody thing I hate the most, you know. I hate the most when individuals or society or people blame others for their own shit problem. Okay? You are the determinant of your own future.
Yeah.
Right? If you are lazy to go and study, what to do? When you are older, you have to work harder. You know? If you work harder when you are young, you learn more when you are young. When you are older, you have a podcast like this shit around and, you know, just talk like whatever you want to talk about.
Well, it's agency, right? And it's also self-honesty. I think it's not just individuals who are not sufficiently self-honest. Countries are not self-honest.
Yeah.
If you ask Malaysia, what's your problem? They will not point to these things.
Yeah.
They'll say, oh, it's because of this and
yeah,
that.
they're the one being, you know.
What about your system?
Yeah.
You're not self-honest.
Yeah.
Right? But it's like if you don't admit your flaws, you cannot correct your flaws.
Cannot correct.
It's a two-step process,
Correct.
right? Yeah.
I mean, I would say, I want to, let's veer it a bit, you know, to be honest. I would like, for our local audience, look at the Malays, and I'll tell you how the black community is, you know, and I'm being very general because not everybody is like that. But when you look at the today's black culture, right? You're looking at the hip hop culture. You're looking at girls, you know, hip hop videos with half naked girls, you know, bouncing their butt around, right?
So it's called twerking.
Twerking, yeah. See, I'm so old. I don't even know what that is, you know. And influencers and all these hip hop guys going there with their money like that, right? It's a very materialistic culture. Shortcuts. Who are their role models? And then the next thing you hear is, oh, the white people are the one that are suppressing us. Hello? Try looking in the mirror, please. You know, I remember the days when I was in the 80s or even in the 70s. Look at how the blacks dress. They were in suits. They have their own shops. They have their own finance system. Right? And when you hear black music, what are you hearing? You're listening to Motown.
Marvin Gaye, Otis Redding, right?
Right.
Before that, Charlie Parker, stuff like that. It's amazing. Brilliant music.
Amazing, right? Today, what are you hearing? a bunch of nonsense, people yapping. I don't know even what the hell they're talking about.
You're showing your age, bro. Generation
No,
gap.
I'm not showing my. And the problem is, our own people are emulating that as if that's a great thing.
Yeah.
Just because it's supposed to be pop culture.
Yeah, yeah.
Hey guys, you're just aping idiots being idiots.
So key takeaway number 4, have agency.
Yeah.
Take accountability for yourself and your country and recognize your flaws, right?
Yep.
It's hard for me to say, because all of us have flaws, right?
Right.
But the key thing is to first understand the flaw.
Yep.
Before one can work on the flaw. It's the same thing with anybody else, right?
Yep.
So then when we're trying to vilify Trump and all of his methodologies, you gotta understand the landscape before that whole thing came about in the first place, right? I think that's the key thing, yeah.
I mean, I see videos of how
I see videos of Trump in the 70s. He was saying exactly the same things
he
already.
didn't change.
He hasn't changed.
Yeah.
So in terms of consistency, he was an Oprah Winfrey in the 80s saying, oh, we need to look at tariffs because we've opened the free trade is the be-all and end all. That's the bipartisan view. Everybody thinks that global free trade where barriers are on is the answer.
And you
no,
know what?
It's not. Not
you know
necessarily.
what? People were listening to him.
They were not.
They were listening to
They
him.
were, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but
and now, when he's running on it, all of a sudden he's the devil.
Yeah, it's the same thing when people don't have the ability to look beyond the superficial, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes I talk about Bitcoin, and people say, oh, Bitcoin's a scam, right? And then I say, but how much do you know about Bitcoin? I said, how much reading have you done? They say, I haven't done any reading. So, but why do you think it's a scam? They can't tell me. People say Donald Trump's a dickhead. I say, yeah, okay, but why do you think he's a dickhead? How much do you know about him? They can't tell me. Even journalists, right? It's lazy. It's intellectual laziness.
Yeah.
And that's a problem.
Not just intellectual journalists. Sorry, not just intellectual laziness. It's also actually 50%, if not more, of that is already in captured mindset. So they've already made up their mind.
Yeah.
you know?
Settled thinking.
Yeah. So they are not even willing to actually think about something different.
Yeah.
Because if you already label a certain philosophy, ideology as evil, you're not going to look at it.
Right.
It's hatred.
Yeah.
Hatred, as Yoda says, hatred brings anger. You
You gotta do the whole process.
I forgot. That was one of my favorite, one of my favorite line in
Much
Star
to
Wars.
learn you have, young Jedi.
Yeah. Much anger.
Much anger you have, young Skywalker.
That is why Yoda says, do not try.
Do.
So, what is so if you look at it, the tariffs, I think, all in all, let's go to another part of the tariff, which is inflation, right? Which is inflation. You look at the inflationary numbers, it's not going up as much as they say it's going up. Look at the video clip of what was predicted. Right?
I'll tell you
just see it. Okay? So, you see, everybody was screaming the sky is going to fall. We're going to see recession. Where is that? Those are the experts. But here's the thing.
Are we experts?
I'm not an expert.
So people don't have to listen to us.
No,
right?
they don't have to. All you're listening is a perspective.
Yes,
Right?
it's an opinion.
You can take it, you can leave it. But the perspective that we are bringing is decades of being a blue-collar business person who has to negotiate with contractors, who has to negotiate with suppliers, who has to buy in bulk and buy in small terms, who has to go cross oceans to sell and negotiate, right? And we see the differences in terms of micro and macro effect on our businesses. It works the same. You scale it out, it's called a country.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I've had to swallow. I go and negotiate if I have. Let me give you guys an example, right? Oil and gas, all right? I had a fleet of ships in those days, right?
You personally?
Well, my company, okay? Had a fleet of ships.
Like Aristotle?
Yeah. Right? No. I'll give a price to Petronas, you know. And if they don't want it, if they think that I should compete with everybody else at a certain price, I can tell you the difference with me and my competitor at that particular time in the early 2000s was that I got market in Indonesia, I got market in Thailand, I got market in Vietnam, I got market in Myanmar. And I also got market in Mozambique. At which case, I said, okay, I'm sending my ship to Vietnam, right? You can take the other ships, it doesn't matter, right? Pay peanuts, I don't care, all right? Now, I also build up a brand whereby if you take my ship of good quality, very well maintained, run by very professionally, I don't cut corners, so my price is maybe 10% to 20% premium. Dude, take it or leave it. Okay? Come the time when the oil price goes down to hell, right, and all the market shrink, I don't have that leverage anymore, right? So the whole dynamics is different, okay? So everything is moving. It's all a moving part. So when you see Donald Trump doing his managing as a CEO of America, what you guys are watching is not a politician. You're watching a businessman run a country, right? And the businessman does not have a deadline. Because as far as he's concerned, I'll get the best deal at the right time. It's easy, man, when you have that kind of attitude. And that's why I believe that businessmen, real businessmen, are the ones best to run a country. Because why? When my business is great, one of the things I will do as a businessman is to actually make sure that my employees are paid very well. Why? Because when they are paid well, they're going to work harder, okay? And they see that there is a return to their efforts, okay? But if I am a lousy businessman, aka politician, what I will do is actually bring the most mediocre people around me and actually give my people crumbs. Because why? I don't really care how much the company makes. I would rather actually stuff my pocket with a fat salary and enjoy my life. Why the hell do I care about what you guys are making? Do you guys know what I mean or not? That's the difference between a businessman and a politician. And with that, I would like to rest my case.
Recep Salakwita. Okay, so Friday, we've got free China.
Right.
We're going to get the Chinese, or at least a China watcher's point of view.
Right.
Because it's one thing to look from the outside, it's another to look from the inside.
And I would like to see that the conversation is about policy rather than about personality. Yeah? Because I'm very interested to look at what are the policy implications of what the Trump administration is doing vis-a-vis China CCP leadership is doing. I'm also interested in the socio-economic dynamics that is happening in China vis-a-vis the rest of the world. And that includes Malaysia, that includes the EU, that includes the rest of the world, including South America and Africa.
Okay.
Because everything is interconnected in this world.
That's right.
Right.
Okay. Try and tune in if you can. Otherwise, we'll see you in real life.
Like and subscribe. Right?
Oh yes, 97% of people who watch this video or this channel are not subscribers yet, Che.
Yeah.
So please help us to get that number down from 97% to zero.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.